Have you ever wondered how to find peace of mind amid life's inevitable changes? As we grow older, we face moments of loneliness, loss, and uncertainty about the future. But what if I told you that these very challenges could become stepping stones to greater fulfillment and tranquility? In today's video, we will explore 5 transformative truths that can guide you through the complexities of aging, attachment, and personal growth. These teachings, inspired by Buddhist wisdom, show us how to embrace impermanence, let go of attachments, and find strength in our independence. You'll discover how to cherish the present moment, deepen your connection with yourself, and ultimately live with greater confidence and peace, even as you face the inevitable changes of life. If you're ready to learn how to navigate life's transitions with grace, how to free yourself from unnecessary worries, and how to build a fulfilling life even in solitude, this video is for you. Stick around until the end, because the wisdom shared here might just be the key to unlocking a peaceful and enriched future, no matter where you are in life. If you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. First truth: knowing impermanence. Sho began his lesson with a deliberate calmness, his voice steady yet brimming with the depth of his understanding. His words seemed to carry the essence of ages, echoing wisdom that had guided countless souls before. He turned his gaze to Taro, who sat with a mix of curiosity and trepidation. "Taro," Sho began, his tone inviting yet firm, "the world we inhabit is in a perpetual state of motion. The seasons turn, rivers flow, and even the mountains, steadfast as they seem, are slowly worn down by time. Nothing remains as it is forever." This truth, known as impermanence, is a cornerstone of the Buddha's teachings. To live without understanding this is to invite suffering, for it is our resistance to change that causes the deepest pain. Recognizing impermanence is the first step toward a peaceful mind. Taro leaned in closer, his hands clasped tightly together as if bracing himself for what was to come. The word impermanence lingered in his mind, heavy yet intriguing. She continued, his voice softening yet growing more profound. "Life's joys, its fleeting moments of happiness, and even its sorrows, they are all like clouds drifting across the sky. They may seem to linger, but they are never permanent. Youth fades, health wanes, and even the relationships we treasure the most transform with time. This is not a punishment, Taro. It is simply the nature of existence." The words pierced Taro's heart, stirring memories long buried but never forgotten. His mind wandered to his younger days, a time when he and his friends would laugh without care, their days filled with an energy that seemed infinite. He thought of his children, their tiny hands reaching for his, their laughter ringing through the house like music. He thought of his wife, the warmth of her smile, and the quiet, steadfast love they had shared. These moments, once the core of his existence, now felt distant, like a faded photograph left in the sun too long. His friends had gone their separate ways, his children had grown and created lives of their own, and his wife was no longer there to share his days. These memories brought a bittersweet ache to his chest, a loneliness so profound it almost swallowed him whole. Yet as he sat with these feelings, Sho's words took root in his mind. "Because everything continues to change," Sho explained gently, "we must learn to see this transformation as natural. What we often interpret as loss is merely the cycle of life unfolding. By clinging to what was, we create our suffering. But by accepting impermanence, we liberate ourselves from this burden." Taro's breathing grew steadier, though his heart remained heavy. He looked at Sho, his voice trembling as he asked, "But how can I accept it, Sho? How do I let go of what I've lost?" She smiled, his expression serene yet empathetic. "Impermanence does not mean you must forget, Taro. The memories you carry, the love you've known, remain a part of you, woven into the fabric of who you are. But instead of lamenting what has passed, focus on what is here and now. Each moment, fleeting as it may be, holds the potential for new joy and meaning. The secret is not in resisting change but in embracing it." The words struck a chord deep within Taro, like a melody he had always known but forgotten how to sing. He closed his eyes and saw his memories in a new light, not as ghosts haunting him but as treasures he had been privileged to hold. For the first time, he allowed himself to see the beauty in the changes that had shaped his life. Sho, sensing Taro's shift in understanding, continued, Impermanence is not a cause for despair. It is, in fact, a gift. Because nothing remains the same, we are given endless opportunities to grow, to learn, and to discover. Imagine, Taro, if life never changed. If every day were the same, joy would become mundane, and there would be no room for new experiences or wisdom. It is through change that we find renewal, and through renewal, we find purpose. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Taro felt tears welling in his eyes, not from sorrow but from a sense of release. The weight he had carried for so long, the unspoken grief for his lost youth, the longing for the way things used to be, seemed to lift ever so slightly. He began to see that his loneliness was not an enemy to be feared but a companion to be understood. Perhaps, he thought, this was the beginning of a new chapter. Perhaps in accepting the inevitability of change, he could find a way to live with peace. Sho's voice softened as he brought his teaching to a close. Taro, impermanence teaches us that life is precious precisely because it is fleeting. Each moment, each connection, and each experience is a gift. To live fully is not to resist change but to flow with it, to find meaning in every transformation. When we stop fighting the current, we realize we are not being swept away but carried forward toward something new. Taro sat in silence, the stillness of the room echoing the stillness within his heart. For the first time in years, he felt a glimmer of hope, a sense that the path ahead, though unknown, held possibilities he had yet to discover. He looked at Sho, his voice steady now, and said, "Thank you, Sho. I think I understand a little better now. Life isn't about holding on to what was, but about embracing what is and what might be." Second truth, letting go of attachment. As the conversation drifted deeper into the wisdom of life, Sho leaned forward slightly, his eyes reflecting the calm certainty of one who had walked this path many times. He spoke softly, yet his words carried the weight of profound truth. The second truth, Sho began, is about the burden of attachment. In life, we cling to many things: our families, our closest friends, the possessions we believe define us, our health, and even the idealized versions of ourselves. These attachments, though they seem to give life meaning, are often the invisible chains that hold us in cycles of suffering. Letting go of attachment is not about abandoning love or responsibility. It is about freeing your heart to embrace the present moment, unburdened by the past or the fear of loss. Taro sat quietly, his head bowed as Sho's words echoed through his mind. He felt the weight of those chains Sho described as if they had always been there but were only now becoming visible. He thought of his wife, whose gentle laughter had once filled their home like sunlight breaking through the clouds. He thought of his children, their tiny hands once grasping his, their voices so full of questions and wonder. These memories, though precious, had grown heavy over the years, like stones in a river, blocking the flow of life. They had become a refuge and a prison, both comforting and suffocating. For years, Taro had clung to the past with a desperation born of love and grief. He revisited the same memories over and over as if by holding them tightly, he could keep his loved ones close. Yet, as he reflected, he realized that these memories often left him feeling hollow and trapped, unable to see the beauty of the life still unfolding around him. Sho's voice brought him back to the present. "We are so often tethered to what was," Sho continued, his voice gentle but firm, "that we fail to notice what is. The past is like a shadow, it follows us, and we cannot escape it. But we can choose whether to let it darken our path or walk beside us quietly. If you are so attached to the past that you cannot enjoy the gift of the present, it is as though you are closing your eyes to the sunrise, refusing to witness its light and warmth." Taro's chest tightened as these words sank in. He realized how often he had allowed his longing for the past to obscure the present. The fleeting beauty of spring blossom, the serene sound of raindrops, even the warmth of the sun on his face. These moments passed him by unnoticed as his mind wandered back to what he had lost. He began to see that while the past was unchangeable, his relationship with it could transform. It didn't have to be a weight, it could become a quiet companion, a reminder of love, not a source of pain. Sho's gaze softened as he continued. Letting go of attachment does not mean forgetting, nor does it mean abandoning the memories that shape us. Instead, it means learning to hold them gently, without allowing them to control us. When we loosen our grip, we find that the heart becomes lighter, more open to the joys and experiences of the present. Taro imagined what it might feel like to hold his memories with tenderness instead of desperation. He thought of his wife's laughter not as a loss but as a melody that had once enriched his life and could still echo in his heart without binding him. His children's voices could be gentle whispers in his soul, not chains pulling him away from the present. These realizations stirred something deep within him, a glimmer of hope he hadn't felt in years. For so long, Taro admitted, his voice trembling, I've clung to the past, fearing that if I let go, I would lose them forever. But now I see that perhaps holding on so tightly has only caused more pain. Maybe letting go doesn't mean losing them. Maybe it means finding a way to carry them with me without being weighed down. She nodded, his smile radiating understanding. Exactly. By letting go, you honor them not by clinging to what was, but by living fully in what is. When you stop fighting against the flow of life, you begin to see the beauty in its ever-changing nature. Even small moments, like enjoying a cup of tea, feeling the breeze on your skin, or meeting someone new, can bring profound joy when the heart is unburdened. Taro felt a flicker of warmth in his chest, a sense of possibility. He began to imagine how his days might look if he embraced the present with an open heart. He pictured himself tending to his small garden, not with thoughts of the past clouding his mind, but with gratitude for the life growing before him. He thought of sharing stories with others, and finding connections and laughter instead of dwelling in solitude. Letting go is not easy, Sho continued, but it is the path to true peace. When you free yourself from attachment, you find that even in solitude, there is strength. The small things you do, cooking a meal, taking a walk, helping a neighbor, become acts of confidence and self-reliance. And in this way, you build a life of quiet contentment, no matter what challenges arise. Taro sat in silence, tears welling in his eyes. Sho's words felt like a key, unlocking a door within him he hadn't known existed. For the first time in years, he felt a sense of lightness, as if the chains binding his heart were beginning to loosen. He resolved to honor the memories of his wife and children not by clinging to them but by living in a way that reflected the love they had shared. In the days that followed, Taro began the quiet work of letting go. He spent time in his garden, planting seeds and watching them grow as a symbol of his journey. He allowed himself to feel joy in the present, a warm meal, the laughter of children in the distance, the beauty of a sunrise. And though the memories of his wife and children remained with him, they no longer felt like walls. Instead, they became windows, through which he could see the light of the world anew. As Taro embraced this new way of being, he discovered a profound sense of peace. He realized that life, even in its solitude, held countless treasures waiting to be uncovered. By letting go of attachment, he wasn't losing his past. He was freeing himself to live fully in the present. And in that freedom, he found the strength to face each day with grace and quiet confidence. Third truth: reducing dependence on others. Sho's voice carried a weight of wisdom as he introduced the third truth: the importance of reducing dependence on others. It's only human to want to rely on others, especially during times of hardship, he began, his tone warm and understanding. The love and support of family and friends can feel like a safe harbor in life's storms. But as time goes on, solitude becomes an unavoidable companion for most. If we lean too heavily on others, the emptiness left by their absence can be crushing, an overwhelming loneliness that seeps into the soul. Taro listened intently, his heart stirring with recognition. His own life bore evidence of Sho's words. Over the years, he had grown increasingly reliant on his children. They helped with household chores that once felt routine: cleaning, cooking, shopping. They drove him to doctor appointments and patiently navigated the labyrinth of hospital paperwork. Even the smallest tasks, like sorting mail or paying bills, often found their way into his children's hands. Yet, even as his children helped willingly, never once voicing dissatisfaction, Taro couldn't suppress the faint unease gnawing at his conscience. Was he imposing too much on them? Was his presence, once a source of strength and guidance, now becoming a weight they silently carried? These questions haunted him, planting seeds of anxiety about the future. What if their patience wore thin? What if his growing dependence strained their love or made them feel trapped? Sho's next words struck a chord. In Buddhism, independence is a path to peace, he explained with a serene smile. It doesn't mean rejecting the help of others, nor does it mean living without relationships. Instead, it means fostering the courage and resolve to do what you can for yourself. Every act of self-reliance, no matter how small, plants a seed of confidence. It teaches us that we are capable, even as the years pass. This inner strength becomes a sanctuary, shielding us from the pain of unnecessary dependence. For Taro, this concept was both liberating and humbling. He began to reflect on the small victories of his younger days, changing a light bulb, fixing a leaky faucet, or cooking a meal from scratch. Back then, these tasks felt unremarkable, just part of daily life. Now, in his later years, he realized they held a deeper significance. Each one represented independence, a quiet mastery of his world. Taking Sho's words to heart, Taro decided to make small but meaningful changes. He started by tackling the simplest tasks, ones he had grown accustomed to delegating. Instead of asking his daughter to fold his laundry, he took the time to do it himself. Instead of waiting for his son to bring groceries, he made a list, took his walking stick, and ventured to the local market. Though these actions took more effort and energy than they once had, they filled him with a quiet pride. She offered further insights that deepened Taro's resolve. Dependence is not inherently bad, he said thoughtfully. The trouble arises when it becomes a habit, a default way of living. What if we shifted our perspective? Instead of seeing dependence as leaning on others, what if we viewed it as sharing the weight of life? Relationships should be supportive, a mutual give and take, not one-sided or burdensome. True independence lies in understanding this balance. Taro found this reframing transformative. By viewing his relationships with his children as partnerships rather than lifelines, he began to focus on what he could contribute. Even small acts, like making tea for his daughter when she visited or tidying up the house before his son arrived, helped him feel like an active participant rather than a passive recipient. This subtle shift in attitude brought an unexpected light to his interactions with his children. The quiet guilt that had once clouded their relationship began to lift. Gradually, Taro discovered that reducing his dependence wasn't just about sparing his children from burden, it was about freeing himself. The more he embraced his capabilities, the more he realized how much strength still resided within him. Tasks that once felt daunting became opportunities to prove to himself that he was far from helpless. This growing sense of self-reliance gave him a confidence he hadn't felt in years. Sho's teachings on interdependence resonated deeply. Living without excessive reliance on others doesn't mean isolating yourself or carrying every burden alone, he explained. It means finding the courage to stand on your own while cultivating relationships rooted in mutual respect and kindness. When we live this way, we gain something precious, peace of mind. We know we can face life's challenges without fear, yet we are still surrounded by love and support. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. As these ideas settled in Taro's mind, a wave of calm washed over him. For years, he had been haunted by the thought of being alone, of losing his children's support and facing life's challenges without them. But now, he saw another path. By consciously reducing his dependence, he wasn't just lightening his children's load. He was building a foundation of strength within himself. The transformation was gradual but profound. Taro found joy in the small victories of daily life, repairing a loose hinge, preparing his breakfast, or walking to the park unassisted. Each act, no matter how minor, became a symbol of his resilience. He was no longer bound by the fear of loneliness because he had discovered something even more powerful: the ability to stand tall in his own life. In time, Taro realized that independence wasn't about rejecting help or living in isolation. It was about reclaiming his dignity, finding strength in his capabilities, and nurturing relationships free from guilt or obligation. He had come to understand that independence and connection were not opposites but companions on the journey toward true inner peace. Through Sho's wisdom and his own experiences, Taro embraced a new way of living, one that allowed him to face the future with confidence, courage, and a heart unburdened by fear. This, he realized, was the essence of a life well lived. Fourth truth: cherishing the present moment. Sho's voice resonated in the stillness of the room, a soothing melody that seemed to cradle the hearts of everyone present. Each word carried a weight that demanded reflection, a call to pause and truly listen. So many people, he began with a knowing smile, live their lives looking backward, tethered to memories of the past, both joyful and sorrowful. Others spend their days anxiously looking forward, weaving intricate stories of a future that has not yet come to pass. But Buddha's teachings remind us that true peace is not found in either of these places. Peace resides here, now, in the simple act of cherishing the present moment. When we allow ourselves to be consumed by the past or the future, we lose sight of the immense beauty and joy that is always within our reach. Taro sat quietly, his hands clasped in his lap, his mind a tempest of realization. Sho's words touched a tender place in his heart, revealing a truth he had long avoided. For years, he had been a captive of his thoughts, reliving the warmth of pleasant memories from his youth and grieving the moments he could no longer grasp. At the same time, his heart often raced with the vague but persistent anxieties of what lay ahead: aging, loneliness, the unknown path that stretched before him. Even on bright, sunny days when the world seemed to shine with possibility, Taro often felt as though something was missing, an emptiness that lingered just out of reach, as though life were something he was merely passing through rather than experiencing fully. Sho's voice interrupted his spiraling thoughts, grounding him once more. "Imagine," Sho said, his words brimming with quiet conviction, "waking up each morning and taking a moment to truly appreciate what is before you. The golden hues of sunlight streaming through your window, the scent of freshly brewed tea, the sound of birds greeting the day. Imagine savoring the flavors of your meal, not as a routine chore but as a sacred act of gratitude. It is in these small, seemingly mundane moments that the present reveals its richness. When we live with gratitude for what we have now, instead of clinging to the past or fearing the future, life becomes full, overflowing with meaning and joy." As Taro listened, he felt a profound stillness settle over him, like the calm after a storm. He realized how often he had let the present moment slip through his fingers, distracted by the illusions of time. The sunlight streaming through the trees, the earthy aroma of the grass after rain, the vibrant bloom of a single flower, these treasures had been waiting for his attention all along. He had been so preoccupied with what was behind or ahead that he had failed to notice the beauty quietly unfolding around him. Sho's voice softened his words, carrying a gentle reassurance. "We will all face solitude in some form. We may walk alone at different points in our journey, but when we anchor ourselves in the present, we discover that solitude is not a curse. It is an invitation to deepen our relationship with the world, to connect with the simple, profound joys of being alive. Living fully in the present moment doesn't require grand gestures or extraordinary events. It is found in the smallest of acts, feeling the warmth of the sun on your face, listening to the rustling leaves, or tasting the sweetness of a ripe fruit." The words struck Taro like a chord vibrating through his very soul. He began to see that the key to living a fulfilling life, even in old age, was not found in chasing the extraordinary but in embracing the ordinary. It was in pausing to truly see, to hear, to feel, and to give thanks for what was already present. Slowly, the anxieties that had gripped his heart for so long began to loosen their hold, like shadows retreating before the light. Taro's thoughts turned inward, reflecting on his habits. How often had he eaten a meal without tasting it, hurried through a walk without noticing the vibrant life surrounding him, or shared a moment with a loved one without truly being present? He realized that living in the present required a deliberate choice, a conscious effort to let go of the weight of yesterday and the uncertainties of tomorrow. It was a practice, a discipline, but also a gift he could give himself every single day. With this newfound understanding, Taro felt a gentle warmth spreading through his chest, a feeling he hadn't experienced in years. Gratitude. It wasn't gratitude for some grand accomplishment or life-changing event, but for the simple reality of being alive, of having the opportunity to feel, to breathe, to exist. The simplicity of the present moment began to unveil its richness, its depth. Sho's final words echoed in Taro's mind long after they were spoken. Life is fleeting, like the petals of a cherry blossom carried away by the wind. But those who learn to savor the moment as it unfolds will find that their days, no matter how few or many, are abundant. Remember, it is not the length of time we have that matters, but how deeply we live within each moment. Taro left that day feeling lighter, as though he had shed a burden he had been carrying for decades. He resolved to start small, to wake each morning with intention, to notice the light and colors of the world around him, to taste his food as though it were a gift, and to breathe deeply, savoring the air in his lungs. He understood now that peace was not a distant goal or a treasure buried in the sands of time. It was here, waiting in the present, a silent promise of joy for those who chose to embrace it. And with this realization, Taro began to live, not in the shadow of yesterday or the uncertainty of tomorrow, but in the radiant fullness of today. Fifth truth. Deepening dialogue with oneself. Shou's voice softened, taking on a tone that seemed to reach directly into Taro's soul as he began speaking about the final truth. The profound art of deepening dialogue with oneself. Too often, Shou said, his words deliberate and full of warmth, we define ourselves through others, through their words, their perceptions, and the roles we play in their lives. But as we age, life offers us an unexpected gift: time alone. This time, though it may feel unfamiliar or even unsettling at first, is a rare opportunity. It is not about loneliness or sorrow, but about the deep, sacred act of coming face to face with ourselves. The room seemed to grow quieter as Shou continued, his words weaving a tapestry of wisdom that resonated with everyone present. In solitude, we are no longer distracted by the clamor of the world, and the mirror of our soul becomes clearer. This is the space where true growth begins, not by seeking answers outside ourselves, but by listening deeply to the voice within. It is here, in this dialogue with our innermost self, that we can uncover a wellspring of peace and purpose. Taro felt his chest tighten as Shou's words touched on a truth he had been unable to name. The lively days of his youth, filled with the laughter of children, the companionship of his spouse, and the steady rhythm of daily responsibilities, had faded into a quieter existence. The long, silent hours of his later years had often felt empty, like a hollow void that he couldn't fill. He had mistaken this quiet for loneliness, for something to be endured. Yet, as Shou spoke, Taro began to see his solitude in a new light, not as an absence, but as a canvas for introspection and growth. She explained that in Buddhism, the practice of deepening dialogue with oneself is a path to enlightenment and inner peace. It is through this practice that one finds freedom from the chains of external validation and the fleeting nature of worldly attachments. Many people fear being alone, Shou said, his gentle smile filled with compassion. They equate solitude with loss, with insignificance. But in truth, time spent alone is time spent nurturing the heart. It is a sacred space where we can rediscover our essence, unclouded by the noise of the world. For Taro, this was a revelation. He realized that much of his loneliness stemmed not from being alone, but from resisting it. He had clung to memories of the past, of family gatherings, bustling holidays, and the steady presence of loved ones, while dreading the stillness of the present. He had been looking outward, seeking meaning in the echoes of what was lost, rather than turning inward to the quiet truths waiting within. Shou's words were like a lantern in the darkness, illuminating a new path forward. He spoke of the profound joy that comes from listening to the voice of one's soul. When we stop trying to fill the silence and instead embrace it, Shou explained, we begin to hear the whispers of our heart. These whispers guide us to what we truly seek, not the fleeting approval of others, but the enduring joy of being at peace with ourselves. Taro felt his heart stir as Shou described the richness of a life rooted in self-understanding. By deepening this inner dialogue, Shou continued, we come to see that our existence itself is enough. We no longer depend on others to validate our worth. We find joy simply in being, in the sunlight filtering through the trees, in the taste of a warm cup of tea, in the rhythm of our breath. These small moments, unnoticed by many, become profound when we are truly present with ourselves. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. A tear slipped down Taro's cheek as he thought of his own life. How often had he overlooked these small joys, consumed by the desire to be needed, to play a role in others' lives? He realized now that his worth was not tied to his usefulness or his relationships, but was intrinsic, unshakable. At this moment, he felt a wave of gratitude for his existence, a gratitude he had never fully recognized before. Shou's voice, steady and kind, filled the room. When we embrace this dialogue with ourselves, solitude ceases to be something we fear. Instead, it becomes a source of strength, a sanctuary where we can nurture our souls. We become our pillar of support, no longer reliant on the approval or presence of others. In this way, we move from loneliness to a deep, abiding sense of fulfillment. For Taro, these words were transformative. He thought about the long, quiet hours that lay ahead in his life. What once seemed like an empty expanse now felt like an invitation, a sacred opportunity to know himself more deeply. She had helped him see that solitude was not a punishment but a gift, a chance to cultivate a rich inner world that could sustain him through the shifting tides of life. As Shou concluded, his smile radiated warmth and understanding. The heart is vast, he said, far more vast than we often realize. By listening to its whispers, we can discover joys and truths that no one else can give us. And in doing so, we free ourselves from the need to be supported by others, for we learn to support ourselves with the strength of our being. Taro felt an unfamiliar calm settle over him. The 5 truths Sho had shared seemed to resonate deep within his soul, healing wounds he hadn't even realized he carried. He felt lighter, as though the weight of his fears and anxieties had begun to lift. For the first time, he saw his future not as a lonely road but as a journey of discovery and growth. Life, he realized, was a constant unfolding, a letting go of attachments to the past and future, and a deep embrace of the present moment. By deepening his dialogue with himself, Taro knew he could find a richness that no external relationship could offer. This richness, born from within, was a source of peace that no circumstance could take away. As he walked away from Sho's teachings, he carried with him not just a new perspective but a profound sense of gratitude for the quiet beauty of life, and for the simple, extraordinary gift of his existence. As we come to the end of this profound journey through Sho's teachings, take a moment to reflect on what resonated with you most. What have you learned from these 5 truths about solitude, independence, and deepening dialogue with oneself? Was there a particular lesson that struck a chord in your heart or gave you a new perspective on life? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Share in the comments below one thing you've learned from this story and how you plan to bring it into practice in your own life. Your insights might just inspire someone else on their journey of self-discovery. If you found this video meaningful, please leave a comment below and let us know your thoughts. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more stories and lessons that enrich the soul. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.